right, episode. What is my files on here say? 32. All right. I'm going to call this one long term thinking. All right. One of the greatest indicators of success, in my opinion, is long term thinking. Now, here's what I mean by that. First of all, where did I get this from? If you play video games like me, there's a game in my childhood. It's called Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. Probably one of the most best RPG. I don't know sure what you want to call it. Story adventure mode. I love story single player games because they're very well. For one, you can pause the game. Two, there's progress. But three, it forces you to think. It forces you to think. Because your decisions that you make in the game, some are monotonous, some don't matter, some are just funny and stupid and no one cares. But then there are some missions in the game that will affect you later. It bites you later. There's other games there, let's see, Tales of the Borderlands, The Walking Dead. There's all kinds of different games that they have this choice driven aspect to it. So regardless, my point is this: the Batman Arkham series, right, the Telltale games, the what I'm trying to illustrate is this: these games, though they lack in gameplay and rapid fire, fast pace, multiplayer shenanigans, which I despise because I couldn't pause the game. Like I got to go to the bathroom and what the you're just locked in. My goodness. But with single player, you can pause again. Now here's another thing. What I'm trying to get to is this: there are some missions, some decisions you make that will affect you later. So it forced me to think at a young age, oh, my actions have consequences. And I would remember, I would save my game before I made a decision. Because I had to figure out how they react when I said this. And what did they say when I said that. And I could gauge people's reaction. It's almost like Fallout was teaching me people skills. It was almost like God was like basically predestined me to get me ready. It was like I wasn't wasting my time. And oftentimes I'm only playing games or subscribing to entertainment that facilitates that I don't know, I guess, genre, that gift, that my interest, because I was so interested in, well, that's interesting. If I do this, this happens. If I do that, it's very strategic. But people are complicated, and Fallout has a lot of complicated, convoluted situations, and they're not simple. Some situations you have to talk to one person, then you have to talk to the other person, and then you have to talk to this third person that you didn't know about who knows the real story, and then you come to a decision that resolves the issue. Well, I say all that to make this point. Because when's the last time you actually talked to the opposing side and used diplomacy to understand where they're coming from? Now, I'm not saying we have to talk to the enemy. I'm not saying we should talk to... There are some people... In fact, there's a show called Dragon Ball Z, inspired by Journey of the West. If you know, you know. But it was called the Cell Saga. Alright? You don't know? Whatever, look it up. And there's a scene, you can Google it, it's called Android 16 Speech. And he tells Gohan, one of the characters, main protagonist's son, and I think this is a conundrum people have. And he says it's not a sin to fight for the right cause. Why do I bring that up? Because there will be some situations where I will admit diplomacy will not work. However, you should still strive for it. I believe it was Steve Rogers in Avengers when he got chosen to be a Captain America in that film when he was first introduced, his origin story. And he says, I don't want to fight. I don't hate Nazis. I just don't like bullies, period. I don't care where you're from. You just happen to be a Nazi. And that's nice because that means that he doesn't fight because he wants to fight. He doesn't fight because he hates a group. He fights because he wants to protect what really matters. His heart was right. And that's probably why he got the girl too, because he wasn't a monster. He stops monsters. He's a man. Now, if you look at a monster and a man, the line is very, very interesting. It's a very thin line. They're both aggressive. They both can fight. But the question is why they fight. Oh yeah, that's a mic drop. Anywho, why do you fight? I digress. So I say all that to make this point. Yes, there are some situations in the game where, regardless of the diplomacy you try, you will still have conflict. The good news is that, in spite of the conflict, the other factions will usually appreciate that you went that far to help them, that you went out of your way to listen, to help them out, to do that little extra, or as the game says, a side quest. A side quest. It's interesting because the side quests help you complete the main quest. They're all interwoven and connected. Some people like to reference Skyrim. And we also have Baldur's Gate, right? That's one of the best games right now, and according to this video, win Game of the Year. Why? Because your decisions matter. It's interesting how people love a game where your actions matter. It's not monotonous. It's not grindy. It's not, why the heck did I spend 6 hours walking around in a circle, basically? No, this is different. I would argue one of the best games was Dragon Age Origin, because that game taught you every dialogue I have with people. This is very interesting how the games do this now, or at least the good ones, in my opinion. I think Mass Effect did this as well. These single player games where you have a conversation with your companions, and if you talk to them, if you have to, like, you can't just pick any option. You have to look at the dialogue. You have to read it. And it literally tells you approval or disapproval. It's almost like the game is training my people skills. It was teaching me I can't just talk to people any kind of way. If I'm talking to a bad guy, I have to talk from the angle of his values and perspective if I want to work with him. Now, the key word is work with him. I did not say like him. I don't have to like you. But I do need to work with you so we can get the job done. In fact, there's a lot of missions in Fallout where I had to get a companion. I didn't like that companion. I didn't like their personality. Now, granted, that's a good point. Not every personality is different. However, we can still go on the same path. It converges, and the path is victory. Here's my question. Long-term thinking. Are you willing... I guess I should say it this way. Purpose isn't petty. Are you willing to put aside your pettiness to complete the purpose, the mission? Well, I don't like that guy because he doesn't like cats. I don't care if he don't like cats. Can he get the job done? Well, yeah. Well, we'll pray for him, all right? Well, I don't like her because, she's got a weave and I prefer bobs. I don't know what that even means or what I just said, but my point is, listen, can you get the job done? Yes, okay. Well, we'll lay hands on you later. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you willing to surround yourself with people that help you get the job done, or are you only willing to be around people that stroke your own ego? Why is that bad? Well, it's comfortable. I didn't do this in a later talk. I don't want to even get into that. It's detrimental long term. Let's just say that. Very detrimental. But in any event, that's the talk. Long term thinking. I noticed the people that have succeeded, I'll say in my own line of work, I always ask people, hey, why didn't you quit? Why didn't you walk away? Why didn't you... How did your marriage work? How did you finish school? How did you da-da-da-da-da-da? It doesn't matter what it is. And the number one universal answer I got was, I knew in the end it would be worth it. Now, if you quit, I'm not chastising you. In fact, I want to reiterate what I said this before audio's back, but I'm going to reiterate it. Giving up, that's not my message. In fact, there are some things you need to give up on. The question is, can you discern which ones they are? That's the trick. That's the difficulty. Sometimes we give up on the things we should have stuck on, and we stick on the things we should have given up on. What is the difference? Well, the question is, what's the long-term thing? Do you have the foresight to recognize, if I keep doing this over a long period of time, how will this serve me? Go to the gym, you get a six-pack. Or you can tan it on. I don't know what you gotta do. If you Eat donuts? Well, I don't think you're going to get a six pack, but you get the idea. What is the long term deformation? Oh my goodness, deformation. Whatever. Skip that. So, with that, my advice, sit down and ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How long am I going to do this? And what do I get out of this in 2 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years? If you don't get anything out of it within 2 years, you gotta leave. And also, I want to add this last bit. When I talk about never giving up on the right stuff, those dysfunctions. If you don't have passion for something, now this is not a cop out to get a divorce, by the way. A lot of people do that. I heard in the Bible it says the only time you should get a divorce is when you have adultery. Now I guess we can go down a spiral of what that means, but a lot of people, you hear passion like, oh, if I don't have a passion, I don't want to give up. I should walk away from the. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but because these days people are just leaving each other because they're just not happy, whatever that means. Here's my point of never giving up. My father told me that never giving up. For example, be fully transparent. I had my own business. I walked away from it. I just didn't have the passion for it. I wanted to do this podcast because I wanted to talk to you guys unrestricted. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a coach for a company. But they told me I couldn't talk about my faith. I couldn't talk to you guys like I'm talking to you right now. I would be restricted. And that pissed me off because I figured, well, then how am I supposed to do what I want to do to the full extent of how I want to do it? Long term, see what I'm saying? That's long term thinking. How am I supposed to do it? The answer is you don't do it. I figured, listen, I'd rather do it unrestricted with less than whatever that extreme is. Here's my point. You could say, I gave up on that. But the reality is this. Never giving up. Because I asked my father, like, what does that mean? You're saying, like, I just can't give up on anything? It seems stupid. And also, you could also argue, like, well, giving up means you're going to create a habit. You're going to keep quitting and running away, and that means you're a loser. Not true. The question is what you give up on. We have strongholds in our life. We have bitterness and unforgiveness. These are things that are warrant giving up on and replacing with something of more greater value. See, our society likes to manipulate you emotionally to basically hold you in a mental cell. It's pretty good because I can use a powerful value statement to warrant you not changing. It's easier for manipulation and control, but that may not be their intentions, but it's very easy to swing it like that way. And then it's detrimental to your success. But anywho, so to never give it up, what I'm basically saying is my father's definition of never giving up is when you basically stop trying. That's it. Look at Edison. He did the light bulb like 10,000 failures. What if he stopped at 9,999? Well, then he gave up. But now he succeeded. Walt Disney, talked to 300 banks. What if he stopped at 299? No Walt Disneyland. I know I brought that up before in another audio, but I'm trying to really piece this concept together that giving up virtually means that you stop trying. You can pivot. Pivot is not giving up. It means you went a different path. But ultimately, it's going to work out in the end. You got to believe in that. Or else you're going to allow your past experiences or failures, depending on how you see it, you got to make it a learning experience. That's how Edison saw it. I think that's a good attitude. I didn't find 1,000. When people ask him, you failed 1,000 times, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 999 ways that didn't work. It's interesting how he saw himself versus how we see it. And I would suggest how you see it people's struggles is an indication of how you see your own. Anywho, squeaky chair sounds aside, it's getting picked up. Hope that helps, and I'm going to talk to you later.